The E.A.R. Evangelical and Reformed Christian Podcast. Welcome to The E.A.R., the Evangelical and Reformed, a Christian podcast that urges you to think deeper and draws you closer to God through faith. Through powerful sermons, teaching segments, and discussions, The E.A.R. hopes to give you a different perspective on secular topics from a Christian worldview. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. Please welcome your host, Brandon Queen.
Good afternoon, podcast world. I know I told you guys earlier that I was going to be taking a break, a month-long break. However, I could not pass up this opportunity to do this particular podcast. Given the fact that everything's going on with the coronavirus and Black Lives Matter and all the protesting and rioting going on, I thought it was a need that we come together as Christians to talk about love, not hate, and the meaning of words. And as we go through this discussion, you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about. And I would like to introduce my TikTok friend, Luke Negron. And we met on TikTok. He responded to one of my videos. I guess he liked the response. I'm not sure, but we'll find out. We'll find out what he likes. So how you doing, Luke?
I'm doing really well, man. Hey, thanks for having me here.
Oh, no problem. This is awesome. Welcome to the Evangelical and Reform, also known as the E.A.R. podcast. So obviously in wake of everything that's going on between love and hate, racism and whitewashed and brainwashed people and white privilege and, the Black Lives Matter movement giving a whole narrative of something that, takes Christianity and literally does this.
Yes. So that's right.
Let's start off with, I guess, Black Lives Matter. What's your take on, and I'm not trying to hem you up to where...
Starting off with an easy one. Not controversial at all. No, let's dive in. Hey, I love taking a bull by the horns. My take on Black Lives Matter?
Yep, what's your take on it?
All right, so here's my take. I love and agree with the idea that Black Lives Matter, as I think any liberty-loving individual should. And I really distrust and disapprove of the organization that has taken that name and used those words, Black Lives Matter, to stand for things that for you and I can see as fellow believers in Christ are anti-Christian, I would say are overtly anti-American, and even are anti-minority. Look, I mean, I have a mixed race ethnic background. They're anti-everything that I came from, which is races coming together and realizing that we can intermingle and we don't have to be identified based on the way that we look. We can actually work together and live together and love each other and build lives alongside each other. So they're basically against everything I stand for. And I always make that caveat as an organization. And this is a very quick sleight of hand, and it's a marketing tactic. And you and I talked about this in the past, where you name yourself after something that sounds good, and then it doesn't matter what you stand for, because if anyone comes against you, you say, oh, so you don't agree in this case. So you don't agree that Black Lives Matter. You don't care about Black lives. No. It's not about that. It's that you misrepresent yourself by using those words in your name. That's my opinion.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So my take on Black lives, and I can speak on this more than you can. No offense, Luke. Being a person that lacks hue, tones or whatever.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Yes, Black Lives Matter too. The movement, however, has forced me into this caveat to feel a certain way about myself, meaning that I'm too white if I don't agree with the ideology, or against Black lives if I don't agree with the ideology, which is not true. Because my take is, if you're going to say Black lives, okay, and lives is obviously plural to life.
Yes.
You have to, and this is my personal opinion, you want to talk about everything that encompasses the Black life. And for me, that's abortion, that's single parent homes, which a lot of people say single parent homes has nothing to do with Black lives. Really?
Right.
Okay. So that's black on black crime. They'll say, oh, it's just crime, but that's blacks killing blacks, blacks selling drugs to blacks, bringing others down. The biggest one that I see that I think is the most detrimental is black people, in other words, being racist toward other black people that don't agree or think their ideology.
Yes.
That also includes the lack of the parenting. You got parents that I saw this video of these little kids walking around with signs that say "F the police."
Yeah.
I'm talking 3-year-olds, 2-year-olds,
Little babies.
babies. Okay. So the parenting in the black community, and please, if you're listening to this, don't take it as I am 100% against the parenting within the black community. I am pointing out those parenting styles that hinder black kids from succeeding. And I grew up in an environment where I would hear a black parent say, "You're going to be just like your mom." My mom was on drugs. My mom had a rough life. Don't tell me I'm going to be like my mom. Tell me I'm going to be the opposite. So that's a problem. You know, tearing down our own black people is not good. Okay. The fifth one would be for me, you know, not supporting a black kid's dreams. If a black child says they want to be a surgeon, oh, you're not smart enough for that. You're not going to do that. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. Blah blah blah. You're going to be in the system. You're going to live off of food stamps. You're going to grow up in child support or whatever. You're being negative toward the child. All right. So when Black Lives Matter, the movement that is, says that they're for Black lives, I don't see that. I only see a people that, or a group of people that, and most of them are white people, by the way.
Yes, that's right.
A group of people that say Black Lives Matter, but they only specify and specialize on one particular black life. And that black life would be those killed by white cops.
White cops. Amen. Okay. That's it.
So, and I happen to be a cop. Yes, I choose to be blue, if you will. I choose the blue life. All right. And I choose that life for a reason. I don't choose it just because, oh, it's a cool thing. I get a badge and a gun. No, I choose it for a reason. We'll get into that later. But what I'd like to do, Luke, is I'm going to share my screen with you. And
nice.
we're gonna take a look at the meaning of the word black. All right. Because I even find that the word black is taken out of its original context and the original meaning. And me being Presbyterian in theology or Presbyterian in denomination, I study the words that I read, and words are important to me. And they're not just a group of words that I can put together to make a racial slur or come back at somebody in a witty way, which you can do that if you're smart enough. So let's take a look at the meaning of the word black. All right. Can you see the screen?
I can. Yep.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spotlight some stuff real quick. All right.
Nice.
So the word black is an adjective. Okay. A lot of people may not know that. So the word black is an adjective. All right. And the first definition says being a color that lacks hue and brightness and absorbs light without reflecting any of the rays composing it. Now, the example they have would be boxes with a black permanent marker. Okay, that's kind of vague. All right. And then definition 2 says pertaining or belonging to any of the various populations characterized by dark skin pigmentation, especially the dark-skinned peoples of Africa, Oceania, that's cool, and Australia. All right, so they're alluding to black people being this color. I would be the one to say I'm not black. No, don't panic, people. I'm not black as, let's see, the tip of this marker,
right,
which is black. Right. As you can tell, look at my skin color; it doesn't even match. I am clearly a beautiful brown, but I'm not going to sit here and be that guy that goes against, black, being black or whatever. So yes, I'm black. All right. Now I want to take a look at the word life or lives, if you will. Come on, computer.
And while you're doing that, so we're talking about the cultural meaning of these words, like you said, we're not talking about a black marker. We're talking about the black culture in the same way that, a Caucasian person is not paper white. They're not, they're called a white person because it's an easier way to categorize people. And as a quick side note, this is the reason I don't like using the term African American, because many black people are not from Africa. They either have roots in the islands or in Australia. And why segment them out from Americans? They're just Americans. So we don't call British Americans. We just call them American. Why not let us all be unified? So even by that definition, right, we're all just American, and then we can talk about the way we look. But at the end of the day, we're brothers and sisters. So yeah, but to lives now. So we're kind of taking it apart here. So Black lives.
Yeah. So now looking at lives, and obviously the first thing that pops up on the screen is that it's a noun, okay? And it literally tells you plural of life. Okay, now I'm going to not click on that definition just yet, and I want to talk about the word life from a Christian perspective, okay? Now, you got people that will say, Luke and I have on blinders, okay? And I'm going to sit here and tell you right now, I have on a blinder. Because when I look at the word life, I look at the creation, okay? Everything that has a life, if it's breathing oxygen, or if it's taking in photosynthesis or whatever sciencey stuff you want to get into, like a flower, it's a life, okay? Yes. Now, this marker, in a sense, is not alive. This marker is, in a sense, dead. Yes. But if it writes, it has life to it because the liquid in there is still juicy enough to write something with. Same thing with a highlighter. However, we're talking about humans and plants and dinosaurs and apes, monkeys, and fish, right? So when you click on the word life, the first definition, and I love the first definition, it literally says the condition that distinguishes organisms from, I cannot pronounce that word.
Let's see. It's a very small screen. Let me see if I can.
I'm sorry.
Inorganic.
I got it.
There we go.
Sorry. The condition that distinguishes organisms for inorganic objects and dead organisms being manifested by the growth through metabolism, reproduction, and the power of adaptation to the environment through changes orienting internally. Sorry. And then the second one says the sum of distinguishing pneumonia, I guess, and organisms, especially metabolism, growth, so forth and so on. Okay, so again, you have the worldly definition of life, which is by far this is what I consider biblical, because in the beginning, God created, okay, and all of these fancy words were created in the whole bubble of life, okay. So now we're taking black and we're taking an adjective. Okay, let's get Englishy real quick. We're taking an adjective and we're putting it in front of a noun. Okay, so now we're saying a group of people and their life matters. All right. So let's take a look at the word matter.
So we're getting specific. We're not just saying life matters. We're getting into Black life. Yeah.
Black life matters. Okay. Now matter or matters is another noun. So you have an adjective and two nouns, all right, within that cluster of words that they're using. And the definition for matter simply says that the substance or substances of which any physical object consists or is composed, all right? Then definition 2 says that the physical or corporeal substance in general, whether solid, liquid, or gaseous, especially as distinguished from incorporeal substances as spirit or mind, or from qualities, actions, and the like. All right. So matter is basically everything we see that exists.
Right. So this is a definition of matter as physical being.
Correct.
Physical existence.
Now, some would say, "Oh, well, you're being petty with breaking down the meaning of each word." But I think it's important that we American people know the meaning of our words. We can't change the meaning of words. Okay. All right. So my point is, and one of the reasons why I can't stand the movement, if you will, not the idea that Black Lives Matter too, but the
Right.
idea or the movement that says Black Lives Matter. And if you say Black lives, you are talking about all Black people in that
Yes.
community and that their life matters. Okay. If you sit there and say, well, Black Lives Matter is not talking about single parent homes in the Black community, or they're not talking about abortion in the Black community, then you are telling me that all Black lives don't matter.
Yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
So,
This is, and this is where you see the falling out between all lives matter and Black Lives Matter. And I actually understand some of it. Look, the early on, what Black Lives Matter was saying was, we understand that all lives matter, but people who were outside of the group Black Lives Matter were saying, we just mean that we think Black lives need a little bit more help and protection right now. That's not what the organization was saying. That's what some individuals meant. But what they missed when they started crossing over into the organization was exactly what you're just saying, which is that Black Lives Matter doesn't care about all Black lives by the way they donate, by the way that their activism is done, and by their news stories. They don't speak out about all Black lives. They only speak out about a very small minority of Black lives, which are, as you said, Black lives taken by white cops, which is why one of the things I love to say is, name your organization accurately. What BLM should be called is Black Lives Taken by White Cops Matter, because they don't care about Hispanic on Black crime, which happens much more frequently than cop on Black crime. They don't care about Black on Black crime. They don't care about Black abortion. They don't care about Black poverty. They don't care about Black fatherlessness, which affects incarceration, high school graduation, job placement. They don't help any of those topics. All they care about are the things that conveniently sell in the media. So how ridiculous is that?
right. Now, I'm going to do something real quick, and it's going to solidify exactly what you just said. I am looking for an article that my agency released on a double homicide that we worked just a couple months ago. And I'm not going to say what it is. I am just going to show it to you because I think it's important that any Black person watching this understand that I am not against Black lives, little b,
Yes.
little m. I am completely against the movement because, in my personal opinion, I feel the Black Lives Matter movement, all they're doing is perpetuating racism, and they're using vulnerable Black people as pawns in order to get their agenda across.
That's exactly right. And most of the leaders are white. As you said, the mega donors to Black Lives Matter are white. The leaders and string pullers are white power brokers.
Absolutely.
And they're not here in our neighborhoods trying to make minority communities better.
No, absolutely not. And that's what I'm getting at. If you're going to say Black Lives Matter, you have to be able to back it up and protect all Black lives. And all the things that threaten Black lives needs to be at the top and at the forefront of what you are doing. Okay? Do not sit there and tell me that we're not talking about abortion in the Black community. What do you mean? Or we're not talking about single parent homes. Do you not realize that single parent homes in the Black community are detrimental to us as Black people because it makes us more vulnerable and susceptible to crime because we don't know anything else?
Yes.
All right. We don't have that structure.
And this isn't two Christian conservative guys talking about it. You know who else agrees with us? Barack Obama. Barack Obama made a very popular speech where he agrees exactly with what you and I are saying right now, that fatherless homes lead to high school dropouts. They lead to children outside of marriage. They lead to higher rates of incarceration. And I could go on. A lot of terrible stuff is tied to fatherlessness. This is not a partisan issue. And yet BLM, the organization, is silent on it. They don't do anything to help this pandemic that is facing us. And sadly, it's not even just one population. It's not just the Black population. It's rising in the white population. It's rising in the Hispanic population. And they all need help, and it needs to be addressed.
Right. Now, all right, I'm going to share my screen again, and I just want you to read that headline. Just take a look at the headline. And this is exactly what I'm talking about when I say all Black lives matter.
All right, so here you go. Update. Raceland man arrested for first-degree murder in double homicide in Raceland.
Okay, and I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to scroll right back down to the pictures.
Yep. So it looks like they said a man arrested. So it looks like a man killed 2 minority women.
Yep. Okay. So I'm gonna stop sharing the screen here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Those 2 black girls, and it's not my place because I'm not God,
Mm-hmm.
but in a human perspective, those 2 black girls did not deserve to die. And notice I'm saying black on purpose. Okay.
Yep.
Those 2 black girls did not deserve to get shot in the head.
Mm.
Okay. Where in the hell was Black Lives Matter when that happened?
Yes. Yeah. Where's the protest? Where's the news story? Where's the call? Where's Al Sharpton saying we need to change our population? We need better safety in our communities. You don't see it happening. Where's Don Lemon or Anderson Cooper on CNN saying we need stories about this because this happens every day in our communities and it's too much and we're losing lives? You don't see it happen because it doesn't fit their narrative.
Right. But I can tell you right now, when this video publishes, I'm going to have people saying, well, you see, the black guy got arrested. He went to jail for what he did. I'm going to tell you why he went to jail. Because it took the community to understand when several deputies and detectives spoke to the people in that community, by the way, which is all black, we told them we are sick and tired of working homicides where there are young black people dying from this community.
Yeah.
Okay. And it took for us to be very compassionate, which my agency is compassionate about these things. White, black, Mexican, whatever. We're compassionate about these things. It took for us to get in there, and it took me praying that people would cooperate with us. And it took a pastor from that community to gather a group of people that were sick and tired of seeing black people die at such a young age, at the hands of reckless people, okay, just for no reason. All right. If you're listening and watching this, and if you're black and you support BLM, do not comment on my post saying, well, you see, the black guy was arrested and blah, blah, blah. I get that. Don't get on my page and say, well, it wasn't because, you can't say it was about race and it wasn't about racism. I don't want to hear that crap. Okay.
And not only that, but I'd add on to that. Look, people say, well, it wasn't about racism. Okay. So how about this? How about you go to the families of those two young women and you tell them, I understand your daughter's dead, but hey, at least she wasn't shot by a racist. You think that matters when your sister or your daughter is dead? I don't care if it was a black man, a white man, a Hispanic man, or an Asian man who pulled the trigger. My family member is dead. That is what we should be upset about. It's a loss of life. And as you and I would recognize, a loss of someone made in the image of God. Exactly. And what we love to talk about, but isn't racism worse? Well, we can talk about that later. Let's first solve the problem of losing life, period. Just lost lives. I don't care who pulled the trigger. Let's stop that. And then we can tackle those other issues down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I'll sit here and I'll even go on to say, going back to George Floyd, every single person in America was on board with BLM, if you will.
Yeah.
George Floyd died.
Yep. Everybody
agreed that the way he died was heinous. It didn't need to happen. It was out of hand. Me as a cop, I would have been the person to say, okay, I think the crime was he tried to give a counterfeit $20 bill or something like that.
Yeah.
I would have been like, okay, he's gone. He left the store. You know who he is. Okay, we'll get a warrant for his arrest. No big deal.
Yeah. Simple.
You know?
Yep.
Simple. But I can't speak for those cops because I was not there. I wasn't there to see what they did. However, I saw it on somebody's camera. Okay. But everybody agrees that the way he died was horrible. Okay. The way Breonna Taylor died was horrible. Mm-hmm. The way Eric Garner died was horrible. The way the guys here in Baton Rouge died was horrible. The way the cops died were horrible. Mm-hmm. The way that these black kids and black people in these riots and protestings died was horrible. My point is,
David Dorn, a local hero, right? Retired. He went out to help his community. And why does his black life not matter? Because he was killed in the wrong way. Yeah, that's from a media perspective. They're race baiters. They don't care about us. They want to use and control us.
Yeah, and let's talk about the Democrats for a second. I don't want to be so harsh toward a group of people, but I'm going to make this statement because I think it's important. Black people, wake up. Okay, stop blindly following people excuse my language, who don't give a damn about you.
Yeah.
All they do is they show up every 4 years with their handout asking for your vote so they can turn around and give you a handout, give you food stamps, give you welfare, give you anything you need that is dependent of the government to keep you quiet.
Mhm.
I promise you, all of you black people that support BLM, you are way smarter than you think. And if you open your eyes and see what the Democratic Party is doing, Republicans too, I'm not counting them out. If you can see
they're
what
not perfect. Yeah.
they're not perfect, but if you can see what they're doing and that they're using black people as pawns, you will continue to be a slave to this government. Okay?
Yep.
Yes, pay your taxes. However, you want to talk about unemployment rate? The Democrats keep that low for a reason so they can keep you in their pockets. Okay?
Yeah.
The Democrats were the party that wanted to keep slavery. The Democrats were the party that wanted to keep racism going and segregation going.
Segregation, slavery.
Jim Crow laws.
Look, and the myth that there was a party swap is entirely inaccurate. I want to hit on that just real quick since you mentioned the history, the racist history of the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party also supported abortion, which was attempted Black genocide. That is plain and simple what it was implemented as. They wanted to get rid of Blacks through abortion if necessary. Yep. And look, the party swap it didn't happen. In the era that the South became increasingly free and less racist, when it started changing from slavery to being free, it became increasingly Republican. In the era in which this party swap is allegedly said to have happened, only one Democrat switched from Democrat to Republican. One. The rest who stood against desegregation, they all stayed Democrat. And there are more examples I could give, but that is a myth. And it's used popularly by the Democrat Party and leadership to, again, keep minority populations in line. They want to keep people in boxes. Black guy, put him in this box. Hispanic guy, put him in this box. Gay guy, put him in this box. Why? Because when we're in boxes, we're easier to control. They categorize you into these boxes, and then they can control your population and feed you what you want to hear. And as you said, they never want to pull you all the way up. They never want to pull you off that cliff and really bring you to equality. What they want to do is keep feeding you a little bit more rope so that you're always hanging off the side of the cliff, and they're always the ones in power saying, hey, here's a little bit of a handout, but we're not going to give you a truly prosperous life, just a little bit of a handout so you vote for us, and then you'll need to come back to us in 4 more years because we're not giving you what you truly need to succeed. That's what they do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like you want to talk about living on a modern day plantation or modern day slavery, if you will. That's it. That is it right there. And what I had this, I can't believe I'm about to confess this. I keep up with my TikTok, not on purpose because I mean, the notifications never stop. I made one video and the whole world hates me because I'm against Black Lives Matter movement.
I was going to say, you're very popular on TikTok, though. You do some good work. So,
well, I had to, in black terms, if you will, drag a 13-year-old today. Okay. And this is the thing that that irks me. I'm going to read exactly what she actually put on my video.
Good. I think reading these interactions is actually very valuable because lots of times they speak from a place of being informed by the rest of the community that they're speaking for. In this case, the Democrat community, the leftist community.
Absolutely. Now, I may not find it because I'm looking for it, but I can almost. Oh, I found it. Her screen name is 06precious.a.13. Go figure. And she says, you do realize, and I'm going to read it just like she wrote it. She said, you do realize it's not just George Floyd or cops. You're, Y-O-U-R, missing the point. You might as well be the KKK, baby, the KKK members that are paying back people, not black people, back people. Okay. So I went and I looked at her profile. She's 13 years old. She's going to graduate in 2025. Okay. I'm 31 years old. Who are you to tell this black guy how he should feel and how he should think? I'm a grown man. I've been living longer than you, and I've experienced way more than you. I've experienced the racism. I've experienced the segregation. But I'm going to tell you what I did with that negativity. Instead of me using that to hold me back and blame other people for what I'm not doing, This is what I did. I take my past, and I take the past of what happened to my ancestors, and I use it as fuel to move forward. I do not harp on the past. I cannot live in the past. As a
It's
Christian,
done. Yeah, that's right.
it's done. And I'll say this, I'll say all of that to say this. I can't live in the past, okay? When Jesus Christ was on the cross, before he stated, Telestai, he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what
they do. That's right.
Okay, here we are with a man hanging with nails in his hands and feet, bleeding out with a sword up his side, bleeding out, forgiving the very people that put him on that cross. If lynching was legal today, I'm talking about rope and gallows were legal today, and they had to hang my black self for going against the movement, if you will, because I think that would happen, all right? Before they hang me, I would state those words that Jesus Christ stated. Forgive them, for they know not what they do.
That's powerful.
All day yesterday, I'm sitting at my desk, I'm typing reports, and I kept thinking about Sodom and Gomorrah. And that passage that stated they did what was right in their own eyes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this whole idea that, and then she claimed to be Christian. She said God first. Makes no sense. Because Christians are love. You know, Christ was love. He wanted to perpetuate love. That was one of his goals in his ministry throughout his 33 years on this earth.
Truth and love, right? It's bring the truth in a loving manner. That's shed the light on the darkness and do it out of a place of love.
Absolutely, not out of a place of hatred. Okay, so the people that claim to be Christian use the idea, they use God as a term that people just say. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And those that are truly Christian and actually go to church and in fellowship with people that think like them and worship like them, and they follow Black Lives Matter, the movement that is, and they get caught up in the sin of this movement, they forget that they have a tool in their back pocket, and that is the love of Jesus Christ. And they also have the power of Christ to overcome those bad obstacles. Okay. And they look at God, the person of God, as an idea and not as the source they need to move on in life. They get stuck on the fact that they are so-called oppressed. If we were, listen, let's say all of this technology existed as slavery was going on, and you were a slave owner, Luke, and I'm a free slave, and we're talking about this, then I can say Black people are oppressed. Okay. If Dr. King was around and you and I were talking about this during Dr. King's days, I can then say Black people were oppressed. Okay. Can I say we're not oppressed today? Yes, I can. Can I say that there's forms of oppression? Yes, I can. Okay. My take on it is you can't sit here and say all Black people are oppressed, because I'm not oppressed. I get up every day. I take a shower in a house that I'm renting. I go to work. Okay, freely go to work. I make a living, and my living is putting bad people in jail that hurt kids. A Black guy that is able to hold the law at his fingertips and put sex offenders in jail for hurting kids. You're going to tell me that I'm oppressed. Where is the love in that statement?
Yeah.
All I see is hatred coming from that statement that all Black people are oppressed. We're not oppressed. You're able to have free speech. You're able to own your own business, own your own home, own your own car, get a good education, do all of these things. Is it a struggle? Yes, it's a struggle. I'll admit that. It is a struggle. But when you learn, and I've been saying this for a while, and I'm not sure I'm the one that coined this phrase, but to my Black people, to my community, when you learn to sit at the table with Judas, you will learn the love of Jesus Christ.
Right on. Wow.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
If you can sit at the table with your enemy and love on them in spite of what they did to you, or in spite of what they did to your ancestors, which I don't know why that's a problem.
Yeah, that's a big one too. Yeah, exactly. We're each individuals, right? We're not the people who came before us. So we need to be judged, just like we shouldn't be judged on the color of our skin. We also shouldn't be judged on what the people before us did.
Right.
You know, so I understand that the history of racism has brought about particular struggles for the Black community in America. That's facts.
Absolutely.
But to say that because, and I've heard this many times recently in the past few weeks, because white people had ancestors who owned Black slaves, those modern day white people, are your enemies or have done something against you. No, that is not factual. That does not hold up. And as a matter of fact, many of the white people who immigrated here since slavery, the majority of them had nothing to do with slavery. It's about, I believe it's about 9 to 12% of the existing population had ancestors who had slaves. So it's not even accurate to say that most white people today had them. Most of them had absolutely nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, you're exactly right. And I think something else you hit on is this idea of the difference between systemic racism, which we saw in segregation, right? In legal racism, where they said, in class, we don't want white kids with Black kids. That's legal racism. That's systemic. So we need to separate that from racism that is in the heart of every human, and from bias and prejudice that is in the heart of humans. That is something different. And that is something I think that we are all going to always experience, because Christians recognize that we are fallen creatures. The heart of man is evil from the day we're born. We're saved only by Christ, and our natural trend is to be prideful. And part of pride is preferring people who look like us.
Yeah.
So systemic racism can be fought. And I would say in America, systemic racism has been fought and defeated. We don't see segregation being legalized anymore. We don't see preferential seating for you depending on what you look like anymore. But that personal racism, where there are still people out there who are racist, and I would also add, from all races. I've seen many ethnicities who are racist. That's always going to be out there. But what we can do together is, when that pops up, when that ugly racist head rises, we can all disown it uniformly. And that's the beauty that we can do. Like you said earlier with George Floyd, everybody acknowledged, look, this is terrible. This should not have happened. But to say that that instance with these evil people is applicable to everybody, that's a huge leap.
Yeah. And I'll even say this, Luke. Systemic racism. Let's talk about the justice system shortly here. I work in the justice system on a law enforcement capacity side. I don't work as a lawyer. I don't work as a judge. But I'm the guy that brings about justice short term, because I'm not the judge and the jury or the executor. If you break the law, I am the one that has to make sure you uphold the law. Okay. So, and I'm going to be very frank in my statement, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to get a lot of hate, probably some threatening death messages, but I am willing to take this on for the name and the sake of Jesus Christ. Black people have a tendency of not wanting to obey authority. All right. And that's a broad statement, because not all Black people do this, and I know that. But let's talk about the Black criminals. They are always the ones to fight the cops, resist arrest, run, and try to kill the cops. I work in the field. No Black person can deny that, because I'm a cop and I see it every time I go to work.
Wow.
Okay. So no Black person can say that's not true. That's a false statement. You can't tell me that until you put a badge on and you see it for yourself. Okay. I receive more hate for putting on a badge than a racist white person would ever tell me in a million years. I receive more racist comments from Black people that support BLM than I do from any white person I've ever encountered a racial action from.
Yeah.
That's pitiful. Again, where's the love? Because I think differently, because I am more conservative in my views, I'm hated. I'm an Uncle Tom. I'm whitewashed, which brings up our next topic with the meaning of the word whitewashed. Nice. I don't get it. I'm a Black man and I'm hated because I think differently. I'm a Black man and I'm called an Uncle Tom because I put on a badge. I traded my race, if you will. No, I didn't trade my race. Okay. Everybody wants to know why I put on a badge, and I'll tell you exactly why I put on a badge. Because again, I said it before, I grew up with a mom that was on drugs. Okay. My grandmother raised 10 of my mom's kids and I think 3 of my aunt's kids. So we had 13 kids in the house at one given time.
Wow.
And I watched my grandmother break her back to try to support us, to try to make sure we had everything we needed. I don't recall her, maybe one time, but I don't recall her teaching us to be nothing in life, to depend on the government, to do this. For her, it was more reverse psychology, by telling us the negative things to make us better kids and better people. However, I put on a badge and I became a cop because kids that grow up without a father and without a mother, I can relate to. And if they can see me in a career, then I can say, I did it. What's stopping you?
You can do it. Yeah.
My mama says that I'm not going to be this. Well, guess what? This is the first and the only time I will tell you to disrespect your mother and not listen to that comment. Okay? Yeah. Because you are an individual person and God has made you uniquely in his image. He did not make you in your mama's image. Mm-hmm. Okay? The Bible is very clear. You were made in the image of God. Okay? So these parents that are telling their kids they're not going to be nothing, they're going to be like just like their daddy in jail, cut that out.
Yeah.
Cut it out.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sick of seeing that. Now, on to whitewash. That was part of the comment too. One of my comments that I was so whitewashed and I was a coon. I'm not a raccoon, so good try.
Sell out, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
You're too good for the community now. All that type of stuff.
Yeah, I care. Yeah. I put the badge on because I care. I want to protect the life that God has given people, okay? Especially the Black community. I put the badge on because I actually love and care about Black lives.
And yeah, on that topic, you know, and this topic of being whitewashed or a sellout, I think something we see in minority communities, specifically Hispanic and Black in America, is a very toxic tendency to punish success. And actually, ironically, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air has an episode where they speak directly about this.
Yep.
And Uncle Phil says, he says, look, I worked very hard to, after his son is rejected by his fellow Black college students for being successful. He says, Uncle Phil says, I worked hard to give my family a good life, and now I'm being punished by my own community for success. He says, when are we going to stop doing this? And I think Fresh Prince hit it on the head there. It is one of the most toxic things for successful Hispanic and Black kids to be called white because you're doing well in school. Oh, so you're acting white now because you want to be a lawyer. Oh, so you're acting white now. Or you know, that type of stuff, that's nonsense. And it's in and of itself, it's racist because you're saying that if you pursue success, if you work hard, if you're academic, you're white. That doesn't belong to the white man. Academics don't belong to the white man. They belong to everybody who wants to pursue them.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that I get called that a lot. I hate this.
Yeah,
I get called the whitest Black person someone knows. I hate that term. Nothing against white people, but I'm not white and I love being Black. I am who I am because that's the way. There's a purpose. There's a reason why I am Black. Just because I talk proper, I write proper, I dress proper, or I dress like I should dress, do not put me in the category of white people.
Nope.
I am not white, if you will. I'm Black. Okay.
Yeah.
And I've been called the Uncle Tom, the Coon, the HN, which I'm not going to get into that. And by the way, if you know what HN means, I'm too dark to be an HN. I would have been the one working in the fields.
That's right.
But anyway, so this idea of whitewashed and the American people, not just Black people, but the American people like to take words, merge them together, and make stuff up.
Okay. Yeah, yes, they do. That's right on.
The original meaning of the word whitewashed is literally a metaphor to gloss over or cover up vices, crime, or scandal to exonerate by means of perfunctory investigation through biased presentation of data. Now, what Black people call successful Black people that want to do better in life, whitewashed. a derogatory term used to describe a minority who has assimilated with the Western society. The whitewashed person or person does not necessarily abandon his or her own culture, but rather embraces others beside his or her own. Some people take this as a compliment, others take it as an insult. That's from the Urban Dictionary. So let's talk about this being of whitewash. Let me tell you something, folks, especially to the black people that want to call me whitewashed or a coon or whatever. When you use the word whitewashed, every time I take a shower and I lather on soap, it's white. Okay? So I'm whitewashed every time I take a shower. And so are you. Okay? So my point is, stop being so discriminatory to your own culture.
Yeah.
Okay? You said it earlier. I respect and love Africans, but I am not born in Africa. So I should not be lumped in as an African American. I am not directly from Africa. Maybe my descendants are. I haven't done the research yet. I'm definitely going to get on that. And I'm not denying that my ancestors were not from Africa. I'm not denying that. But me personally, in 2020, I was born in Thibodaux, Louisiana, at Thibodaux Regional Hospital in America, which makes me an automatic citizen of this country. If I decide to pack my bags and go to some country in Africa saying I'm a citizen, you think I'm going to be able to get in? No. Okay, so we don't have dual citizenship. All right?
Yeah.
I don't like the phrase African American for blacks in America because if you ask me, it's keeping the racism alive. It's keeping the idea that we were slaves alive. Get rid of that title. Okay? Because Christ didn't walk around saying, "Oh, I'm a Gentile. Well, wait, no, I'm a Jew. I don't like you Gentiles. Well, but I'm going to go into your country and be a Gentile to preach to God." No. Jesus knew he was a Jew, didn't deny he was a Jew, but went on to say, "I'm going to accept you, Lydia, for example, because you want to learn and know about the gospel. I'm going to accept you, Ananias, because you want to help me teach the gospel. I'm going to accept all these people that believe in me and believe that I am the Son of God and believe that I am their Lord and Savior." He didn't say, "I'm only coming for the Jews." If that's the case, we would not have Christianity. We would all be Jews. Okay?
It's true. It's true.
Or Muslim if you choose to be Muslim, or whatever other religion you choose to be. But speaking to Christians, we have to realize when you take a look at James chapter 2, go read James chapter 2. I preached a sermon on it, okay? Jesus Christ is no respecter of persons, which means he does not discriminate. You could be a sinner for 20 years. Okay, and this is something people got to realize. You don't choose Christ. You don't get that luxury to choose Christ. He chooses you. Okay, you want to argue with me? We can go. Because the Bible states in so many words, we are saved by grace through faith. Okay, we are saved by grace alone, through faith alone, through faith alone, by Christ alone, according to scripture alone, and so forth and so on. Nowhere in the Bible says that I chose Christ. Nowhere in the Bible it says that Luke Negron chooses Christ. No, he doesn't. So all of you black people and all of you white people that support BLM and all you other people of color, you humans that support BLM, and you claim to be Christian, evaluate yourself. Evaluate that you're hiding behind the name of Christianity. Evaluate that. Because they are only going to know that we're Christians by our love. And if I can't love a white person for them loving me for who I am, and I get called an Uncle Tom and a coon and any other racial name in the book by black people for doing that, you're not a Christian. I'm sorry. You're not, you don't follow the same Christ that I follow. You don't read the same Bible that I read.
Yeah.
Okay. Who am I to deny a white person my love just because of something my ancestors went through or something their ancestors did to my ancestors? That's the wrong ideology.
You kind of talked a little bit about James. You know, James says that basically that your faith is known, it's played out by your works.
Mm-hmm.
And part of those works is that part of how we know that your faith is genuine is by the way that you live.
Absolutely.
So your good works don't save you, but it is impossible to be a follower of Christ and not be filled with his spirit, which leads to good works. That's what I believe. So and I think that's what James is saying. You know, he's saying like, look, it's not that you chose to be so good and then you did these good works and then you got saved by those good works. No. But he's saying, but once you are saved, once you are in Christ, these good works will follow if it's genuine, because that is what it means to follow Christ. So it just makes sense. And what you're talking about in these works is living in a loving manner. And also I would add on, from my opinion, in a loving manner and pursuing truth. And pursuing truth will bring you to be more loving to others. And it will bring you to see past the lies of some of these people in abusive organizations like BLM. And I think that is the beauty of true unity in love.
Yeah, and even the KKK also falls in that category. And there's another group that's starting to rise up. It's a bunch of white people that are racist. They also fall in that group. I'm not leaving anybody out here, okay?
Yeah.
Excuse me. So real quick before we wrap up, I want to talk about love and I want to talk about hate, okay? But first I want to talk about hate. BLM, over the course of, I don't know how many weeks it's been, 4 weeks now, a couple months.
I was going to say more. Yeah, the time all kind of seems to meld together.
Yeah. So every time a black person is killed by a white person or a white cop, I see nothing but perpetual hatred and racism spew out during those times, instead of a people coming together to fix the systemic whatever is broken.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. I argued with someone that told me, because I made another video that said, you know, quit the rioting and the looting. And for black people, Dr. King didn't die for this chaos. Okay. Now the chaos he died for was people wanting to keep segregation alive. But what Dr. King did by the power of the Holy Spirit was broke a systemic problem and made black people able to advance further. And here's what he did. From what I can remember, he did 4 things in his movement. Desegregate stuff. Better income for the black people. Better jobs, okay? Called clergy to be more loving and accepting and understand where the black people are, okay?
Yes.
The 4th thing he did was upon his death is people realized that their sin was displayed in a despicable way and they decided to change the system. He did and he brought a bill to the White House that the president signed off on. So he did 5 things in his movement within the course of 20 years. Well, from 60 to 65 or whatever, okay, or 50 to 65, however you want to look at it. He did those 5 things in that short span than BLM has ever done since their existence. Okay? That's why I get so frustrated with Al Sharpton. I get frustrated with Jesse Jackson, because they march with Dr. King and they know better. But instead, they allow racism to be perpetuated and they allow hatred to come out of people. Black community, take that same energy and pour it back into our community, and let's start teaching our kids to respect authority, to respect themselves, to respect you as parents. Stop trying to be your kid's friend, and actually let's start building ourselves up. We cannot point the finger at white people and call all white people racist, although there are some that are. We cannot call all white people racist if we don't clean up our mess in our own backyards.
Yeah. You know, I'm reminded, as you're giving this this charge and this call to action, I'm reminded of a quote that I heard at the Holocaust Museum in Israel. And a Jewish survivor said, for a long time, I hated the Nazis and the German people. But then I realized that the greatest revenge is to live a good life. And when you said put that same energy into building up and protecting your communities, that's what I thought of. Imagine if instead of this looting and rioting that we saw, which by the way involved a lot of white people too, but it also involved a lot of black people. Imagine if all of that energy was put towards people saying, you know what, you want to marginalize us, you want to treat us like we're less. Look what we're going to do. We're going to build this amazing business in our location. We're going to build this awesome park in our location. We're going to clean up our streets. If all that energy, same exact time had been spent on that, think about what revenge that would be against the true racists. Because then you'd be saying, look at us. We are finding a prosperous life together. You can hate all you want, but this is what we're doing together. The best revenge is living a good life. And that goes for anybody who's been attacked or discriminated against.
Right. And I'm going to love people no matter what they tell me. Okay. I'm going to look past the hate. I'm going to take the hate, that energy you're giving me, and it's going to fuel what I will continue to do. And that's to love you, protect you at all costs, and preach the gospel at any given cost, even if it costs me my life. Politicians, if I'm dreaming big here. If a politician comes across this video and they're listening, especially if you're a black politician, here's what I want you to stop doing. Stop using people as your personal pawn for your own personal gain. Stop lining your pockets with the hard-working money of poor black people and poor white people, for that matter, to get your own gain.
Yep.
Use the money that you're getting and put it back into the community. God has put you in that position so that you can serve him. If you like it or not, nobody is in office without the authority of Christ himself.
That's right.
Okay?
That's right.
You can call America a non-Christian country all you want. But if you look at every civilization, people are in power because God is in power and he allows those certain people to reign.
Yep.
People hate Donald Trump. That's perfectly fine. Guess what? He is the president because God allowed it. He ordained it.
Mm-hmm. And the same was true about, look, I was not a big Obama fan at all, but I always drew the line at that place of respect. And I think that's what people don't do for Donald Trump, where I say, look, you can disagree with his policy all you want, but as Christians, especially, he is here because God has allowed him to be here. Barack Obama was our president because God allowed him to be our president. You always respect that authority that comes with it. And I think we're missing a lot of that today. Also, Brandon, you mentioned just your dedication to protecting people no matter who they are. I didn't say this earlier, but thanks for what you do, man. I mean, look, law enforcement has been absolutely pounded lately. Thank you for what you are doing for your community as a whole. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you for that. That's much respect. Look, I love people, okay? And me being an elder in the Presbyterian realm, me being an elder, let me say it like this. Black people, stop saying you are oppressed. We had a black president, Barack Hussein Obama. You're not oppressed. We had Dr. Martin Luther King put together a force to be reckoned with. You are not oppressed anymore. You got black cops that go out and protect you and serve you and put their lives at stake every single day and night. You are no longer oppressed. You are oppressed only by your mind, only by your sin, and the sin that you want to believe that you are oppressed. You are no longer oppressed. God has called you for something greater. Black people, and this includes me, wake the hell up and see what was going on. You have a tool in your back pocket. And if you claim to be a Christian, you best tap into the fact that Jesus Christ came and died for your wretched soul. And he came to give you life and life more abundantly. Stop saying you are oppressed. Stop saying that you are in modern day slavery. You're only in modern day slavery if you allow the government to keep you there.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Cut it out. Stop tearing down other black people for thinking differently and for wanting better out of their lives. Stop telling your children that they're going to be like their parents or their daddies or whatever for doing whatever, and they're going to be in jail like their folks. Quit doing that. If you are a single mom, keep busting your butt, because there are a lot of moms out there doing it. Keep on busting your butts. Keep on keeping your kids in line, and you keep doing that for the sake of Jesus Christ, because he came and he died for you. I'm going to keep on saying that. Okay, when you talk about Black lives mattering, talk about all the things that threaten Black lives, and let's focus on fixing those things that threaten Black lives. And let's stop perpetuating racism in such a way that all it's doing is it's causing a greater division for this country and for this world. I want my children and my children's children to be able to wake up and walk outside and be loved by any person of any color, creed, ethnos, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, the fact that I have to wake up every single morning and watch my back because I put on a badge and a gun, and hope and pray that nobody shoots me in the back, and hope and pray that I can come home to my family, should not be. It should not be. Yes, police brutality exists. Charge to Black men, to young Black men, stop resisting arrest. If you feel you were wrong, there are ways to get justice, and that cop will be dealt with if you do it the right way. Don't take justice out in your own hand. Okay, if you get pulled over and you're given a ticket, do not fight with the state trooper and argue with him on side of the road. Your greatest day is in court. Trust me on that one. Okay? Let's start loving people for who they are, and let's start meeting people where they are, and let's start loving people where they are, and let's start loving people just because Christ called us to love people.
Yep.
Okay?
Yes.
The Great Commission is pure love. Go, therefore, and teach Black people? No. White people? No. All nations.
All nations. Everybody.
Everybody. Okay?
Yep.
So if you claim to be Christian and you follow BLM, I'm going to tell you right now, it does not line up with the Word of God. It doesn't line up. So if you're going to sit here and say that I support Black Lives Matter, be specific, because I do support Black lives. And I think, and I wholeheartedly believe that Black lives matter just as much as your Mexican life matters, or whatever you mix with. Luke, I don't know what you mix with.
A little bit of everything.
but your life, I guess we both mutts, but your life matters just as much as my life matter. Okay? Food for thought. If you're going to comment, don't use the fireman putting out the fire for one house and trying to save the other house, because it won't work. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if a fireman is going to put out a fire, he does, in fact, spray the other house so the other house don't catch on fire. So that's been debunked. Don't even try to comment that. Okay? I'm calling all Christians to this particular action. Pray. I am watching Sodom and Gomorrah play out again in this country that I call home, in this country that I call America. Okay? People complain about America being great. You can complain about that. I'll say this. America will never be great until every Christian comes together and realizes the sin that is perpetuating and going across this land. I am calling all Christians to stand up, speak out against racism. If you see somebody, if you see a white person being racist or a Black person, and you claim to follow Christ, you better step up and say something.
Speak up about it. Yep.
Okay? Black person, if you see another Black person degrading another Black person by the way he or she thinks, even though you don't agree with that Black person, you better
stand up.
Okay? Stop tearing each other down. Love one another. Don't hate them. Love. Okay? When you use your words, know the meaning of your words. Love, not hate. That's all I'm asking people. That is it. Love just as Christ loved us. Okay, Luke, I barely know you. I just met you through a couple TikTok chats, but I love you for who you are. Okay, I live in Louisiana. You live up in the north area somewhere. We have better
Pennsylvania.
Food. We have. Listen,
you do.
We got better food.
Yeah.
And look, I got two friends that live in Pennsylvania. They're both pastors. Matthew Everhard, check him out. Dean Weaver actually lives in Pittsburgh. He's also a pastor, and that makes three. And then JT Holderman, they're all pastors. Google them, check them out. They're awesome people. But look, this whole meaning behind this message, guys, and this debate, this discussion, whatever you want to call it, I'm not against Black lives. Neither is Luke. But I'm against the movement that perpetuates racism.
Yes.
BLM, the movement, the organization, you are just as bad and as guilty as the KKK. All right? So if you want to correct yourselves, start teaching Black people to love other Black people for who they are. and then start teaching them to love people for who they are. Clean up our own mess first, all right, before we start pointing the finger and blaming others for what we have control over.
Yes.
Luke,
Yes.
you said it earlier, buddy. If we start doing better, improving ourselves, and showing this country what kind of people we really are, we will do just fine. All right? Love people. And I'll end with this. Luke, you got any last words before I end?
No, I love it. I mean, I agree with what you're saying, and I think that you're called to a Christ-like approach of pursuing love for one another, and then pursuing justice in that love. I mean, that's the best that any human can do. So, absolutely, pursue that love, pursue that truth, and ultimately, that only comes through Christ.
Right. And listen, I said it earlier. Love, not hate, and know the meaning of your words. And I'll say this one more time. When you learn to sit at the table with Judas, you will learn the love of Jesus Christ. Plain and simple. That's my call. Love people for who they are in spite of their sin. Because let me tell you something. When you look in the mirror and you point that finger, you got 3 fingers pointing back at you. You too are a sinner. And don't you forget it. Don't forget it. All right, Luke. That was a very interesting conversation. I've been wanting to get that off my chest for a while. So
hey, that was good. I am really glad to be able to talk to you and also to the listeners about some of these complicated issues that often get just lost in translation. People don't listen enough, and I'm glad we were able to have this good extended talk.
Absolutely, man. I look forward to doing this again. To all my subscribers and listeners, I want to thank you for giving me a chance to be a part of your day, that you can hear 2 Christian guys talking about, and we're from 2 different backgrounds, 2 different denominations, 2 different families, talking about the same thing, and that's love for people. So stay tuned for more content. Like I said, this is a spur of the moment episode. I am on break. So if you put something in the comments that are disrespectful, they will be deleted. If you want to have this conversation, we can have this conversation. We're going to be human about it. We're going to be adults about it, okay? And if you're under the age of voting, don't even bother commenting. Don't want to be a segregationist in that part, but you got to live a little bit before you start voting and talking to me about my problems. But Luke, thank you for listening, and thank you for engaging in conversation with me. I love you, brother. Keep up the good work on your end, and we'll be doing this again.
Thanks, man. We'll be in touch.
All right.
See you guys.
You have reached the end of yet another episode from the E.A.R. We hope that God's word remains on the ears of the listeners. We pray that this podcast would urge you to go forth and spread His good news to the world. Thank you for tuning in. Please don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. See you at the next episode. God bless you, and may His glory shine upon you.